Hello, welcome, and thanks for joining us on this edition of News 2. I'm Sandra Gumansing. Topping this newscast, it's caught the attention of both national and local media. St. Thomas Senator Alvin Williams has posted bail of $250,000 after being indicted by a federal grand jury for allegedly engaging criminal activities that include bribery, mail fraud, and wire fraud. News 2's Alison Bourne-Vanek has more on Williams' charges and how much money he's accused of gaining from illegal activities.
According to the U.S. Attorney's Office, Senator Alvin Williams, along with two of his staff members, were indicted by a federal grand jury on Thursday and charged with participating in a criminal enterprise and engaging in illegal activities that included bribery, mail fraud, and wire fraud. Two staff members of Senator Williams were indicted, including 29-year-old Kim Blackett, his chief of staff. The recent indictments stem from a legislative raid last year in October, where dozens of federal agents investigated Senator Williams' office and confiscated his computer records. And now, over a year later, federal agents were once again at the legislature, according to witnesses, and this time Kim Blackett was escorted out of the building by federal agents. News 2 asked Senate President Ronald Russell if Senator Williams had turned himself in, and Senator Russell said he believed that Williams had done so. In a release, the U.S. Attorney's Office laid out details of the charges. According to the indictment, Senator Alvin Williams on September 5, 2009, gave the Commissioner of Public Works $10,000 in cash in an attempt to bribe the commissioner to grant future work to Ace Development, Inc., which is the company that Williams had an interest in. Additionally, the indictment further alleges that from February 21, 2007 to November 18, 2011, Williams solicited a bribe from the developers of the Rappoon Vista housing project on St. Thomas. And allegedly, Williams promoted legislative action and supported the authorization of funding and zoning of the project in exchange for Ace Development to receive a contract related to the construction of the Rappoon Vista project. The indictment also alleges that between September 1, 2008 and September 31, 2008, Williams solicited and received a bribe of $10,000 in campaign contributions from the developers of the 22 Park wind turbine project. And in exchange, Williams would promote legislation in support of the wind turbine project. This also allegedly happened between September 22, 2008 and September 2009, with Williams accepting a bribe of $25,000. And additionally, the indictment further charges that in the summer of 2010 and in August of 2010, Williams solicited bribes to legislative staff members by offering to increase their salaries, allegedly for merit. Then staff members in exchange would withdraw a portion of the increased salaries and make the cash available to Williams. According to the U.S. Attorney's Office, the proceeds from the illegal activities amounts to approximately $1.1 million. For News 2, I'm Alison Bourne-Vanek.
And according to the U.S. Attorney's Office, Senator Alvin Williams and Kim Blackett's arraignment is scheduled for Wednesday, November 14th. News 2 will keep you updated as this story continues. The St. Croix Board of Elections finally started counting paper ballot votes Friday from Tuesday's general election. They began with the senatorial race. Election officials say they expect to work all day Saturday and again on Monday until all the votes are counted. Members of the public have been right there with them to observe the process. News 2's Erica Parsons has more.
Senatorial aspirant Arthur Joseph has been present every day this week after the general election Tuesday to observe the ballot counting process. A little more than 900 votes separates him from the 7th spot, and when asked about whether he felt the election's counting process has been transparent, he had this to say.
You can't just say transparency to be a word, but it must be something that you get involved in, because it becomes subjective when you start talking about whether something is going right or wrong. Because currently, when we're looking at the counting of the absentee ballots, if the member oversees something or overlooks something rather, then someone in the audience can say, no, let me look at that again.
The vote counting Friday began around 10 with the senatorial race, and while News 2 was there, about 11 members of the public, that included concerned citizens, candidates or candidates' representatives, were present to observe the process.
The fairness that we're looking for, we can achieve. But if you're not here, then you're going to get the issue of transparency from the perception of someone else.
Elections officials said the process to sort the ballots for the different races once they opened the envelopes took some time, which is why the vote counting didn't actually begin until today.
This process is going to continue all day today, tomorrow, Saturday, and on Monday, holiday. And we're going to work and get these ballots counted.
Board member Adelbert Bryan raised concerns about the security of the ballots and how easy it could be for someone to tamper with their storage, but would not appear on camera. Dodson James was present to provide a quorum, but did not take part in Friday's process since his brother Neville James is a senatorial candidate. Meanwhile, on St. Thomas, sources told News 2 they were present since 9 a.m., but because of problems securing a quorum, the counting did not actually start until 4 this afternoon. St. Croix District and Joint Board of Elections Chair Rupert Ross said they will begin counting absentee ballots November 16th. He says under VI law, the board has until November 21st to certify the election's results. Erica Parsons, News 2.
And as of news time, News 2 could only confirm that the senatorial votes for the Elena Christian and Juanita Gardine polling places on St. Croix were completed. A domestic violence arrest Tuesday led to the discovery of several deadly weapons. 21-year-old Akeem Matthew was arrested when police responded to a domestic disturbance call in Estate Strawberry around 12:30 p.m. November 6. The female victim said Matthew bit and assaulted her. Police then learned there were weapons in the home, so they secured a search warrant. They found 2 handguns, one of which was found under the mattress of a minor who lives in the home. Police also found a semi-automatic handgun and several boxes of ammunition. The minor was turned over to the Juvenile Investigation Bureau. Police on St. Croix are also investigating a recent fire. The police are working together with the VI Fire Department, who are trying to find out just what happened to start a residential fire Thursday. Officials say firefighters were dispatched to a home in Estate Georges in Frederickstead around 11 a.m. Officials also say the structural fire appears suspicious. The investigation is ongoing. 2 St. Croix women have been arrested for embezzlement in 2 different incidents. Police say an investigation revealed that 34-year-old Jamila Dullam Singh was allowing customers to leave Home Depot where she worked without paying for their items. Police say she was paid more than $1,000 for that scheme. In a separate case, 24-year-old Jalila Drea Toomer is accused of embezzling almost $3,500 from Radio Shack in October alone. Police found that Toomer was using duplicate receipts to forge refunds for merchandise that was never returned by customers. Both women were remanded to the Golden Grove prison pending their advisory rights hearing. Well, today, President Obama gives his first public speech since the election. It will focus on the debt and the looming so-called fiscal cliff. Washington is grappling with how to avert the automatic spending cuts and tax raises due to kick in at year's end. Susan McGinnis has the story from Washington, D.C.
Shortly after the confetti fell on election night, both sides claimed victory in their visions of how to deal with the economy.
There was a message sent to us by the American people based on the campaign. People making all this money have to contribute a little bit more.
You know, with this vote, the American people have also made clear that there's no mandate for raising tax rates.
President Obama won re-election campaigning on the idea that the wealthiest Americans should pay more in taxes. A new study from the Congressional Budget Office says the president's plan would increase revenue and would slow economic growth by 0.1%.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Republicans point to a different study to prove their point.
You know, the independent accounting firm Ernst & Young says going over part of the fiscal cliff and raising taxes on the top 2 rates would cost our economy more than 700,000 jobs.
Negotiations over how to avoid this fiscal cliff are expected to begin in earnest next week when Congress returns to work. Both Democrats and Republicans say they're willing to work together.
Legislation is the art of compromises, consensus building.
House Speaker John Boehner says Republicans are willing to raise revenue, but only under certain conditions.
What matters is where the increased revenue comes from and what type of reform comes with it.
Vice President Biden is certain a solution can be found.
We're not going over the cliff. We're determined not to go over the cliff. I think better heads will prevail.
But finding a solution in a lame duck Congress could prove complicated. Susan McGinnis, CBS News, Washington.
Meanwhile, gas rationing started this morning in New York City and Long Island nearly 2 weeks after Superstorm Sandy. Frustration is growing for thousands of Sandy's victims.
In wintry Somerset County, northern New Jersey, utility crews are still days away from restoring everyone's power. Wednesday's nor'easter was a setback across the disaster zone. Adela Bolette had just gotten her electricity back on Monday.
It was such a relief. Oh my God, it was like returning to civilization.
But that relief didn't last long.
And all of a sudden, poof, and there we are back in the Middle Ages.
In New York, Governor Andrew Cuomo blasted LIPA, the power company that serves Long Island, complaining it mismanaged the crisis.
Part of it is just the management and the performance, which has been unacceptable. And they failed. They have failed the consumers.
Sandy's destruction has left thousands of people homeless for the foreseeable future. FEMA estimates 101,000 people in New York and New Jersey qualify for hotel subsidies. 56,000 people qualify for help renting a new home or fixing a damaged one. And the agency's moving in several hundred mobile homes into the hurricane zone.
I mean, I can't build apartments right now in the next week. So we're going to get them as close to their homes as we can get them. But I can't wave a magic wand and create housing.
Sandy devastated New Jersey communities like Seaside and Long Beach Island. Later today, some Seaside residents will be allowed back in their homes to survey damage and, as mandated at a town hall meeting, retrieve no more than 2 suitcases of belongings per house.
Meanwhile, keeping our eye on the economy, stocks opened sharply lower this morning. Investors continue to worry about gridlock in Washington, and there's a new sense of urgency to avoid the so-called fiscal cliff. You won't have to wait until the day after Thanksgiving to get Black Friday deals from Sears. The retailer has announced that customers can shop the store's doorbuster discounts online starting November 18th, 5 days before Black Friday. Industry analysts say that will put Sears first in line to offer Black Friday deals this year. This is the New York Stock Exchange with Scotiabank Stock Market Watch. The Dow, NASDAQ, S&P all up. The Dow 4, NASDAQ 9, S&P 2. Coming up on News 2, free seasonal flu and pneumonia outreach activities and shots territory-wide continue. Monday is Veterans Day, and we're observing Military Appreciation Month, where you can go to honor and pay tribute to the men and women who fought for our country. We'll be right back. Well, the 2012 Tommy Star Awards dinner put the spotlight on those who work in the hospitality and tourism industry. And the winners this year included Florissa James of Cape Air, who won Airline Associate of the Year. Keisha Kentish of DV Carina Bay Casino won Activities and Attractions Associate of the Year. Hospitality Support Associate of the Year went to Joan Floyd of the Ritz-Carlton on St. Thomas. Public Service Representative of the Year went to Dr. Sayamira Cordero Fontaine, who works at the Juan Louis Hospital. Patricia Lewis, who works at the Best Western Carib Beach Resort, won Hotel Supervisor of the Year. Kashim Knight of the Ritz-Carlton won Hotel Associate of the Year. Bruce Flamone, who represents Yacht Haven Grand, won Taxi Operator of the Year. And Restaurant Associate of the Year went to Marlon Charles, who works for the DV Carina Bay Resort. Congratulations to all the winners. Veterans Day is coming up on Monday, but it's also a time to honor the country's military all month long. On Sunday, St. Thomas will host a Veterans Day parade that will start at 3 p.m. at the Adelita Cancrine Junior High School and end at Franklin Delano Roosevelt Veterans Memorial Park. The parade marshal will be retired Army Sergeant First Class Patrick Farrell. Then on Monday, both St. Croix and St. John will host parades. On St. John, the parade starts at 3 p.m. in Cruz Bay and will additionally have a program in the Franklin Powell Park. The parade marshal will be Elmo Rapsat Sr. Over on St. Croix, the parade will start at 9:30 a.m. at the Bassett Triangle and end at Christiansted Grandstand. The parade marshal will be retired Sergeant Major Monroe F. Clendenin, Jr. Get the flu shot, not the flu. The Department of Health Immunization Program reminds you that the free seasonal flu and pneumonia outreach activities and shots territory-wide and has been going on all month long. Today on St. Croix, shots were available at the Charles Harwood Complex and on St. John at the Coral Bay Fire Station. But another event is coming up on Friday, November 16th at Crown Bay Marina on St. Thomas. That's from 9 to 3:30 p.m. All residents are reminded to walk with their immunization card and or Medicare card. Well, although Breast Cancer Awareness Month has ended, doctors want to remind women to continuously be aware of signs and symptoms year-round. One way you can do this is to regularly perform self-breast checks.
we recommend that they actually do a self-breast exam about a week after the menstrual cycle, because the breasts are less lumpy at that point in time. But it's very important for them to do that and to look for feel for any lumps, bumps, anything that might be concerning. And if there's anything that pops up, then they need to notify their physician immediately. And also, it's important for younger women to have a breast exam done by a physician at least once a year.
You're just kind of looking for any differences, any different change or anything like that?
Also looking for any kind of dimpling, any sort of puckering of the skin, any abnormal lumps sticking out of your breast. Those things, you know, raise some sort of suspicion. And then also just feeling your breast and feeling for lumps or bumps. Breasts are naturally lumpy a little bit, but if you find a mass that's getting bigger and bigger, then definitely that should be brought to your physician's attention. I just want to encourage everyone to be in tune with your body, to educate yourself, to be informed, because early detection is key. We still don't know, you know, all the things that cause breast cancer, but we do know that if you find it early, then your chances of a cure are more likely.
Stick around, your News 2 AccuWeather forecast is coming up next.